In one of Meatloaf's hit songs, he sings, "I would do anything for love, but I won't do that." And although we never find out what that is in the context of the song, it's become something of an ode to conditional love. And it very much picks up the sentiments of the man in the gospel we hear today, who says to Jesus, "I will do anything for you. I will follow you and do anything." But when Jesus proposes one thing, he says, "Oh, I won't do that." And of course, in the gospel, we know exactly what that condition is. Jesus asks this good man who is keeping all the commandments, doing all the right things, to then give away his possessions, give them away to the poor, and come follow him. To which we hear the man walks away sad, unable to do it, effectively saying, "I won't do that. I can't do that. I'm too attached to my money and my possessions." And we might find it easy to judge that man, thinking, well, I'm not attached to money, I'm not materialistic, but there's actually other ways we can be attached to something other than just money. True, that is one of the big themes of the gospel, of people who are wealthy being trapped and blocked from truly following Jesus. And we hear Jesus go on to say a little bit more about the attitude to money. But the clue for us so often of how to interpret a gospel is in the first reading. In the gospel, and the first reading we get today is from the book of Wisdom, where there's not a passage so much about money, but it's about esteeming wisdom above all other things, above money, but also above health and beauty and all else. So for us, there may be a range of things that we are perhaps attached to. Perhaps it is money. Perhaps it's our position, a job that we get esteem from. Perhaps it's a particular relationship. Perhaps it's our health, our youth. Perhaps it's a talent we have, a capacity we have. Perhaps it's being right all the time. There's a number of things we can be attached to and cling to. Way back in my first year of seminary, we had a Carmelite monk, Father Ian Matthews, come and give a recollection night to us. And he said to us, you young men, you've given up many things for Jesus. To come and be here in seminary, you've given up your job and you've moved away from your family and you've given up the possibility of marriage and children in the future. He said, you've given up many things and that's all good. He said, the question I want to ask you, and this is a question which has haunted me ever since, the question he then asks is, what would you not give up for God? He said, go away, pray with that for a couple of hours. What would you not give up for God? That question haunted me because that night I did discover something which I felt I couldn't actually give up. And it's a bit personal to say on screen today, but it was something I worked out about myself, about my relationship, about my way of being, that I thought, I couldn't actually do that. When we came back, Father Ian said, well, if you've identified something that you can't or won't give up, he said, that thing is effectively your God, is the thing that you cling to above all else. And Jesus asks us to be able to let go even of that thing, even if it's a good thing. Because money in of itself is not a bad thing. Health is not a bad thing. Our jobs, our positions, our relationships, they are good things. But if we cling to them and say, I could never ever let go, then we do effectively make them God ahead of God. St. John of the Cross, who a Carmelite like Father Ian, said that a bird may be chained to the ground by a heavy chain or by the slenderest thread, but it still can't fly. An image say it might only be very small things that are our attachments, but they are the things for us that we need to work on. And so in the gospel, we hear Jesus challenge us. What is it that we might need to let go of? And it's not that Jesus wants to steal our fun by taking every good thing away from us. No. But sometimes it's simply that life happens. And of course, always our youth, our health in time fade. Our job, no matter what our job is, we will eventually retire from. Things we can do, we won't always be able to do. And so if there's anything we are holding on to, it becomes a block if we've made that the one thing that we have to have. Not long ago, I was planning a holiday to Tasmania and I had made all my bookings and worked it all out, the accommodation, the transfers. I was getting really excited. And then something changed and I realised that I wouldn't be able to do that trip. And I was so upset, so frustrated. And when I went to pray that night, what God said to me in prayer was, don't pin your happiness to only one outcome. And that's something that's actually stayed with me since then, to not let my happiness rely on only one outcome. That's the holding things lightly, the attachment that I think Jesus asks to have about everything. It doesn't mean we give up or don't try, but but it means we try to do our best in all situations. But if the thing we hope for, the thing we're working towards, doesn't work out, then our happiness doesn't rely on that and that alone. We become free to choose Jesus in all things, in case we should need to have a choice between Jesus and that thing we might otherwise like. So I invite you to reflect for yourself. The question Father Ian asked me those years ago, what would you not give up for Jesus? And perhaps the simpler question which God asked me just recently in prayer, or invited me to reflect on, is there anything that your happiness absolutely relies on only one outcome? That too is an invitation to let go. It might be the slender thread that holds you back, because there is something wonderful in actually surrendering completely to God that not all of us have done, and we all do incompletely. There's always further surrenders to be made, but at some point saying, God, I choose you above anything else, becomes incredibly freeing. It means that nothing can get us as upset anymore. Nothing can get us as worried or as anxious or stressed. And in an anxious time such as the pandemic and the change we're about to experience with opening up, this can be important for us to find a way to peace with God. To say, God, I choose you. Jesus, I choose you above every other thing. And sometimes it means naming those things in prayer. Progressively, gradually, letting go of all else. All the great saints in some way have spoken of this, whether it is St. Francis and his quite literal poverty, whether it is St. John of the Cross and his teaching on detachment, whether it is St. Ignatius and his holy indifference to the outcome. All great Christian saints have shown us the way they have crossed over that threshold to completely surrender themselves to God. We are on that journey. I'm not there completely myself. I'm trying to take steps towards it. But it is for us the invitation Jesus gives to us, like he gave to that rich man so many years ago.